Okay, so project on the Camaro. One of the issues I have with the Camaro, not an issue, but or a problem, or an issue, however you want to put it, is the way I have this engine set up. I got 4 breathers on the valve covers for getting rid of any kind of crankcase pressures, which works fine, except I've kind of cleaned this up, but this one here drips pretty good. And I don't know why this one does when I put the oil in when I'm topping up. But it drips down onto the spark plugs and kind of makes a mess, and I'm not happy with it. I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is go to a catch can. And we'll show you the catch can I'm going to use, which is this piece here. Okay, so essentially engine vents into here. Any kind of oil drips, gathers in here. You drain it through the petcock there, and then you got your breather. My real only clean spot I want to put it at is against the firewall here, but I do have some stuff in the way with the fuel line and the pressure regulator and that fuel bulkhead there. So I got to find a bracket, and then what I want to do is I'm going to mount it on here, screw some holes in there, screw it in there, and then run. I have another set of valve covers, which you'll see in soon. Swapping these out, putting valve covers on with some Mopar type breathers, and I'm going to run 2 lines into the breather, the catch can. Now this catch can only has 1 fitting on it, okay, but there's a boss right here for a second fitting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill that. I've got another one of these fittings. I've actually have another catch can. I have 2 cars, and everything I buy 2 of at least. But I'm just going to use the 1 can for now. So I'm going to drill this, put that fitting on, and that is going to go here. Okay, so look decent, somewhat clean. I just got to find a bracket to do this with. Now, I will say that these are my tune-up kits for the carburetors. I got 2 of them, 1 for each car. Or I got 2 carbs, so I need 2 kits in order to do 1 car. But that's another project. So I have, as you can see here, I have kind of having worked in the heavy truck industry and fabrication shops and all that kind of stuff, I always hang on to any kind of brackets that I can find or that I come across. So this bracket here is one of my all-time favorites. Let's just see how this one works. This might work. I've used this bracket to mount fuel pumps on. Mount that to the floor or wherever you're going to put your pump, and then your fuel pump goes on here. You can drill wherever you want. These are actually radiator brackets for a Mack truck actually. So this would have to go against the firewall. It's kind of hogged out there, but this would have to go against the firewall, and then this would go here. So but this is on an angle, and it's too small to keep this straight. So in other words, it's doable, but it's going to be kind of tight, and it's not quite gonna work. It could work, but it's not gonna do what I want. So let's see what else we got here. We've got this bracket here, which is a clip-on for a shelf or something like that, which would work. That would go against, but it's too small. This is a, I don't know, bracket of some sort. This is big enough, just barely fits. This would go against and then firewall, and then would mount it like that, but it's a little too tight. So that's a possibility. We'll set that one aside. Got this one here. So if we look, that would go against the firewall. Okay, this would do the trick. So if you look at here, this is actually a bracket for a transmission mounting kit. Now look what else we got here. And I believe this is for the shifter in my Pontiac. These are too small. Okay, this will do though. So that'll mount. So let's just have a look here. Get this set up. Here we are. Hopefully you can see. So this would go here. This will go here, or at least this way. Just straight up. So what we're going to do is mount it this side. And then that goes on the firewall. I think that'll do the trick. Then, this might come in handy for something, this part here. If not, then I'll just chop that off and clean it up. But I think that bracket will do the trick. It's just about right. Get that at a 90 here. Okay, so that's what we're going to go with. So let's get this, drill this out, drill another hole here so that it's got something. So I'll have two on here, and yeah, I think that'll do the trick. Easy peasy. Okay, so let's get to drilling here. Okay, so we're gonna drill this bracket here. Now I want to get this bracket 90 degrees to the, because this is on a bit of an angle, so gotta make sure get this even surface here. Okay, so that's kind of how it's gonna go. A little tight to the, we'll mark it. And should be good with that. Okay. So we'll put this in here. Cover the bike. I don't want to get shavings on my wife's bike. And we'll proceed here. So we're going to drill this one out first. All right, so we're gonna go with a 7/16 bolt to hold these on. So I'm gonna go with this size of a bolt, 2 of them, and 2 nuts. Make sure they're the right threads, and 2 lock washers, which will be, these ones will have to do. And we'll do a couple of flat washers too. These are a little bit bigger, but something happened to that. I can't get at those. So we'll go with these. So at this point, I got to drill that out. I got to hog those holes out a little bit to fit these bolts in here. So let's see what we're doing here. Okay, that's just barely enough. This one should do it. Okay. This off. Okay. That. That's too small. So we'll go one side bigger. Oh. Well, never mind. That'll do the trick. I actually got a smaller one here, which is a little bit better. Get these. I forgot I had them, or didn't know I had them here. It's a problem when you have more than one shop. You don't have everything, or you think you don't, and you do. So I guess we'll just get this out. I might have to raise this up a touch. Clear. There we go. Okay, so the other thing is we're going to drill another hole on here. See a little bit better. Right there. Okay, so these things, 10 is the error. They're not good at starting, especially on steel, and this is kind of dulled out a little bit. So we'll start a pilot hole with this, which will get us where we need to be. Okay. All right, let's mount this. sharp edges on there. I'll just hit it with a grinder, clean that off. All right, so let's see how we did here. So this is going to go this way. I'm going to bolt it through like so. Ah, this is a little tight. Okay, be back in 1 sec here. Just got to hog this one out. Okay, sorted. So this is going to go as like so here. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna see if we got a bigger bolt that'll fit through here. Okay, so I bored these out to 1/2-inch bolts, 1/2-inch head, hex head. So let's put this together now. So that's going to go now. Okay, might have a problem here. Let's do this. Let's get this nutted on here. Now, one issue I think I might run into is I didn't take into account this 90-degree fitting that's going to go here. So, obviously, I'm not going to have clearance. You can see this is out way further. Okay. So, worth a try, but on to plan B. Now, if I did it this way, spin this around like that. Okay. Problem solved. Okay, so that's the way it's going to go. Like that against the firewall. I'll drill this out, get another fitting on that side. It's a little tight to the fuel line. When you look at it here, it's a little tight to the fuel line at the top there, but I'll just space this out, and I'm going to use nutserts to mount this to the firewall. So that's we'll catch up here in a few minutes. I got to run out and buy some nutserts. So once we get that, then I'll bolt that to the firewall, and then we'll deal with the valve covers. Okay, so this is ready to go essentially. I gotta take this off. I'm gonna drill the holes here to the firewall. And we're gonna mount that on with nut zerts, which are these. Okay, what that does basically is it's a threaded insert. So you drill a hole for the outside diameter, you set that through, screw this on here, and you squeeze this, and that will shrink this or squeeze this up against the metal and lock it in there good and tight. You unscrew it with this once it's locked in, and then you're good to go. Now, in order to clear the fuel line there, I'm going to use bushings. This two of these bushings. That'll for now. I'm going to use that, and that'll give us some clearance there. We'll play her out that way. So I'm going to drill those holes, and yeah, we'll carry on with this project. Okay, so we're going to do the nut zert now. This, you want to make sure you don't drill too big of a hole there because it won't grab, but it won't grab as tightly as you want it. So just basically screw that on, and you set that in there. Okay, you want to have a little bit of room here so you can squeeze. Haven't done one of these for a while, but I don't think it's rocket science. Just squeeze it. Tighten her up and touch. Okay, that's not quite what I was expecting. Okay, so I'm doing this wrong. We'll figure it out easy enough. We'll thread this in. Okay. One needs just a little bit more of a squeeze. Put this on here. There. Well, it seemed like a good idea at the time, but we'll get it. What you want is to have a bit of a gap here so that when you do squeeze, you got something to grip on. Otherwise, it could be too tight to start with. And I didn't do it right, but there we go. So beats using self-tapping screws or putting it through and bolt through and nutting it on the inside where you basically need two people. This here, or using a rivet. This here saves having to do that. So let's bolt that bracket on there. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little demonstration on how these nutserts work. So first, you want to kind of load it. If you go right, which is what I was doing wrong on previous, if you go right tight like this, you'll never get enough grip on it, at least not with this gun. So you want to get something where you can at least have a little bit of leverage, which this should be pretty good. Now you just watch how this will squeeze in here. And we'll just tighten that up a touch, a little bit more, for a little bit extra insurance. And that's it. That's how these work. This is a 1/4 inch. For some reason, I can't find standard. Everything's in metric up here in Canada. So all I can find is 1/4 inch. But anyhow, you got different mandrels for each size, right? So this is 1/4 inch. I need to get one for 7/16, 3/8 at least, and ½ inch. So, but anyhow, short and sweet, that's how that works. Okay, so I got the bolt. That's going to be the spacer, so that's going to go like that. That'll space it out enough. So we'll get that mounted, and then we'll put the can on there. Okay, so encountered a bit of a problem here in that I put it too close to the header, so I got to move it over to this side. And in order to do that, I'm gonna have to cut this off, this top part off here. So we're gonna do that. It's no big deal. It's all part of messing around. Okay, and I cross-threaded the nut zert, or it didn't hold, so that pulled out. So I got to put another zert in there. I didn't cross it, but it didn't hold. So we'll do that, fix that up. I'm going to cut that top off, and then we'll take it from there. All right, so there's the finished product. I'm gonna hit it with a flapper wheel later, clean that up, smooth that out, and then it's gonna go, I'm gonna paint that as well. So, but this is just test fit. I did mount it on a bit of an angle, but we should be all right. So let's get this on one more time. and then we'll get the can on there. So. All right, there's the finished install. Doesn't look too bad, a little crooked, but we can work on that. So next step will be drilling that out, putting a fitting in there, valve covers, running hoses to it. So that's big part's done. As always, 90 degrees out when I do this kind of stuff. So excuse the sweat, but we'll be finishing this up in, well, for you YouTube viewers, we'll finish this up in like another 20 minutes, but it's going to be a couple days before I can get this done. So catch up to you when I get her out to the lake and finish it up in my garage out there. All right. So we're at the lake now. Shop at the lake, and here's the setup. Valve covers, breathers. I've got this extra breather catch can, which I'm going to use the fitting here. I'm going to drill a hole here, use that fitting. I got two 90-degree AN 10, I think they're 10 AN fittings. Hoses go over that. So let's have a look at the let's have a look at these valve covers, see what we got here. Let's see what we're dealing with. Now, before I do that, I'm gonna get a rag or something soft here to put them on. And there we go. There we go. Shop coat. That'll do the trick. Beaumont. It's going to be seen 500 kilometers this year if that. So let's make some room here. And we'll get these out of here. All right, so we have a set of polished valve covers, just basic aluminum. It's got Speedmaster on there, but ooh, Speedmaster 3. So kind of like it if they were plain, but whatever. So let's, now we've got baffles, baffle kit. And then we got the valve cover screws here, valve cover bolts. But I've got studs in mine, so I'm not going to be using those. The O-rings. O-rings. Yeah. There we go. These are the bushings for these things here. So let's get them, and hopefully they are big enough. They probably aren't, which is typical. Holy, they pack these things. Okay. Nice shiny chrome. And of course, these are too big. So I got to get new rubbers here. See here with the baffles. So we'll be putting these baffles in. I'm going to do that right now. So stay tuned for that. All right, so we'll get these in. Okay. This one. So I think these are going to work. I just got to get the proper grommets here for the breathers. Okay, that's done. Now, I've got a whole bunch of grommets and O-rings and junk here. I'm gonna have a look in my pickle chest here and see what I have. Nope, no, no, nope, nope. Nada, too small, small. Okay, so I don't have anything here that'll do the trick. Okay, so much for that. But anyhow, it's going to go like that, and then the rubber hose will come off of there. So we're going to set these aside for now, and then I'm going to get on to this bit here. We're gonna drill in here and take this fitting, cut that out of here. So we're gonna drill this, that's gonna go in like that. All right, so let's get my drill here. Don't need that. I need this bigger one. That'll do. Now, so if I mess this up, if I screw this thing up, then at least I've got that one there to fall down on as a spare. Okay, there you got a bit of a ways to go here. A little bit more. So it's going to take the whole of cake. All right, so this piece here goes on the inside. Get this piece of plastic off. Get that in there. Okay, and then we'll get this nut on. There we go. I just not get this super tight. It's not going anywhere. That's it. This goes on. Where'd my other one go? There it is. That goes on, and that's gonna pretty much see, it's a little bit down, which is, I'm gonna say I did that on purpose so that we don't have air blowing into each other. It's gonna deflect away. You don't want air pushing through. I mean, it's not that there's a ton of pressure in there, but, and this is gonna go on. Just gotta find my clamp. There we are. Now, getting this off was a real struggle. It was on tight. So we're gonna get some glass cleaner here. So instead of using spray lubricant, or we'll use this stuff here, instead of using spray lubricant or grease or whatever, glass cleaner works as a good lube. So we'll just spray the inside of this. And we'll spray that. The more the merrier. And that just slides on. Okay, and we'll tighten this clamp up. Of course, I don't have 5/16 in here. This will do. There, she's done. So that didn't take long. Finished product. Got spares if I need it. Read somewhere that instead of this, a ball valve would work. I think I have one here somewhere. I got one with shark bites, but anyhow, ball valve is better because they don't drip. But I'll wait and see. I think that should do just fine. So we'll call it quits on this. Next step will be getting the grommets, and then we're going to be ready to ready to rock and roll with this thing. So, right on. We'll move on and we'll catch up when I get these grommets. We'll put these valve covers on. So, catch up in a bit here. So I've been given some thought as to how I want to do this. It's a pretty basic setup here. We're just changing valve covers and hoses, but I want to have as clean a look here as possible. So what I've decided I'm going to do is, instead of running the breathers here at the front of the valve cover, I'm going to run them at the back. I'm going to run them into here. Run the hoses around the back of the engine, so that way it's nice and clean. You don't see it or see very little. And then turn this sideways, and that way I can run the hoses directly into here. But I got a clearance issue here. So what I'm going to do is take this bracket off. I've got some longer spacers here, which is about 1 inch longer than what I got in there now, and mount them. And that'll move the breather out, and I should be able to get the hoses in there sideways. Then we'll swap these valve covers out. So I'm not going to bore you with that swap out, but I'll catch up here once I've got that done, and then we'll go ahead with the valve covers. So catch up in a little bit. Okay, I got the bracket all done. The one last thing I got to do is just drain that cock here. I forgot to put Teflon tape on it. I prefer to use PST, but I don't have any here. Just that I can see. Of course, as soon as I'm done this, I'll find it. But if you just put that in, leave it, whatever's in there, whatever kind of oil or kind of liquid is going to drip out, which kind of defeats the purpose of what I want to do. So I'm going to go too heavy on this, but there we go. So we're going to do this, snug it in, and then we can see what the it's going to kind of look like here. So that works. Works for now. Who knows how long? If that does fail, then I'm putting a ball crank on it. So here we go. Is gonna go like this. I've got clearance on the back, not a ton of clearance, but enough. And then so this cover will go right direct to here, and the other cover will go direct to there. So short hose on here, longer hose around the back, and hopefully that makes it clean. So next step here is to take the valve covers off. I haven't had the valve covers off this engine yet. There's always the fear when you take a valve cover off that you're going to find something wrong in there. And you know, that nice lopey idle, you know, the rowdy sound out of the exhaust, it might not be the camshaft. It might be a broken rocker and you're running on 7 cylinders or 6 cylinders or something like that. But I don't think I am, but it's always a bit of a concern there. So we'll get set up for that, and I'm going to pull the far back driver's side valve cover off first, and then we'll do this one. I'll probably wind up moving that fuel line out of the way just to make it access a little easier. So we'll get set up for that, and we'll run through those real quick. Okay, here's the big reveal. Just gotta get these tabs off. And the wire booms. Oh look, they're all there. Here's what we got. Crane, 1.6 rolling rocket. So, while I've got this is on the, this is the exhaust. I don't feel too bad. Everything looks good. Lots of oil in the back here. It kind of buries the guide and the seal sometimes. But anyhow, nothing's busted. These are AFR 210 race ready heads. I didn't know I had grains in there. Ain't that nice? Okay, so let's get the new valve cover on and we'll get some rubber cut up here, some rubber homes. Well, another change of plans here. As you can see, if I put both at the back, I'm going to have the driver's side Speedmaster insignia upside down. So this one's going to go on the back. I'm going to have to put the driver's side at the front. Otherwise that's going to be upside down and it'll look stupid. So I guess they kind of did this alternate for whatever reason, but didn't have that on there, and I don't want to start grinding anything off here and making a mess of these things. Would work, but anyhow, that's going to be the plan here. So we'll get this one on and get it out the front, and we'll cut some hose up for it. Zap these down. So once I get this on, we'll cut the hose up and we'll come back when I'm ready for that. Okay, so I'm gonna run, I got the hose kind of laying there, I'm gonna run it around the back. I'll do this real quick, like you wouldn't believe it, and then we'll do the passenger side. the other side. Looks good. The same rockers in there. I got to do a valve set on this. Matter of fact, this one's a couple here on the where I need them. I'm gonna get my feeler gauge and just see where we're at with these. Get an idea, at least at cold. So stay tuned. Okay, so just about this cam here. This is a comp cam solid roller. That's 263, 272 at 50. It's got 108 lobe separation. Hot lash is 14 or 16 and 20. Cold lash would be, you take 6 thou off of that cold, so you want to go tighter. So cold lash on the intake would be 10, and exhaust would be 14. So I've got my intake here, and that's nice. And let's see here, an exhaust. Where's my other intake here? Yeah. Okay. That's decent. And now I want 14 for the exhaust. I got a couple exhaust ones here to check. And then 14 on the exhaust. So this one here, well, exhaust, here we are. That's good. It's a little loose, but it's just decent. Not as tight, but that's not on the, it's not quite ready to go. So they're all seem to be not too bad. So we'll get the new valve cover on there, and then we'll plumb that, and yeah, then I'm done. We can move on to watching something a little bit more exciting. Stay tuned. All right, well, there you have it. Passenger side. Driver's side. So I think it's cleaner looking than that setup. It's kind of messy. And once the weather here kind of settles down, it's kind of wanting to rain here, but once the weather settles down, we'll take this thing out and run it and see if it works. I mean, I'm sure it does, but we'll play that game when the time comes. One thing I just noticed here is I, for whatever reason, forgot to put a baffle in there. That's on the driver's side one, but these breathers have baffles in them. So I don't think I really need it. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. But if I feel ambitious one of these days, I'll put it on. Until then, thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe. It's a long video. I tried to make it as entertaining as possible. If you fell asleep, that's fine too, because that's what I tend to do when I watch videos. It's a good nap. You can always go back and refresh, but once again, this is kind of backyard garage type of do-it-yourself basic stuff. I'm not going to get into anything really super ugly. I mean, hopefully I don't have to do a clutch or anything major, pull an engine, but if that comes up, then we'll do a video on that. But until then, and until the next project, I think of one, we'll see you later. Once again, thanks for watching, and please hit that subscribe button.